Hello, hello, good morning. Greetings from Tegucigalpa in Honduras to this new edition of CPTED Talks. I'm very happy to be hosting today this new edition, and today we'll have a great guest. We have with us today for a nice conversation to Macarena Rau, which is the president of the International CPTED Association. One of the initiators of CPTED methodology in Latin America. So I welcome you. Thank you so much for being here today, Macarena. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, Carlos. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm very honored and pleased to be here with you in this CPTED Talk channel.
Okay, so we are going to start reading a short biography about Macarena. She's an architect, a master and PhD. She's an architect from the University of Chile, has a master degrees in architecture from the Catholic University in Chile. And currently she's the president of the International CPTED Association. She has a great amount of experience working with the CPTED methodology and promoting the methodology all around the world. She has experience with the PBK Consulting, specialized corporation in promoting CPTED methodology. She also has been working for the United Nations from 2006 to 2011. Also in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning in Chile. Also developed work for the World Bank. So the list is endless, but I think much better than just letting you know about the biography of Macarena, we better talk to her. So let me start with one question. How is that you became involved in CPTED methodology? How was that?
And first of all, Carlos, thank you for your time. And to start from the beginning, it was a very funny story. I didn't want to start in CPTED. It was something very, not a program. It was something random. I just finished my first degree as an architect from the University of Chile, and I needed to start working. I needed to pay for my bills, and I looked in the newspaper for an interview for a job position from a very nice institution here in Chile that is called Fundación Paz Ciudadana. That is an NGO that develops policies to decrease crime. So I entered the contest to become to receive the job position, and I win. And then I realized that the job consists in traveling to Toronto City to be trained in CPTED. Then I was very lucky to be trained by Robert Stephens. Robert Stephens is my master. He teach me in CPTED, and I started applying and learning CPTED in the early 2000s. Okay. We started applying CPTED in Toronto, and then my task was to transfer the methodology and apply the methodology in some boroughs in Santiago City in Chile. And so it started.
So we could say that it was something that you were not planning, you were not expecting, because, you know, as an architect, which I also am an architect, we are trained to design building, houses, public spaces, you know, but safety, crime prevention, violence prevention is actually something that is kind of, you know, this is not your area. This is something that the police has to take care of and not an architect. So you took the task, you took the challenge, let's say, and here you are almost 20 years after. And there's been a long way with many things. But let me ask you something. When we walk such a long road in something so exciting, let's say that, because, you know, it's just a very complex job. It's CPTED methodologies. It has many different areas of work. How is that affected your personal life, for instance? How, because, you know, It involves a lot of traveling, meetings, and studying, research. And of course, it's something that's time consuming, you know, and I know you for such a long time that you take this with a passion. I mean, when someone takes something with passion, with desire, you know, with power in what he's doing, is certainly we have to pay, you know, the consequences somehow, okay? What do you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Carlos. As you said, my commitment with CPTED is 100%. And I am very committed with the methodology because my region, the Hispanic region, and also your region, is the most criminogenic region in the world. So from the beginning, I realized that really the crime problem, the violence problem here was huge, an incredible high level of crime, people living in fear without the proper response, sometimes from the authorities. It was a very complex context. It is very complex. So I realized that CPTED, well applied, is an incredible tool to increase quality of life from the communities and decrease crime and fear. In that sense, I love the methodology from the beginning. And then I realized that it was a very strong mission to spread the word, and to spread the word not only in my country to benefit the community, but also in the Latin American countries. And then in all around the world, now in my international president of ICA position. But also in this path, I realized that the mission is so big, so huge, that of course it must be done in a teamwork sense. It is very relevant to do that mission with other very bright and incredible professionals to achieve a good task and good objectives. For example, when I was the second or third year of starting the application of CPTED in Chile, then I realized that the possibilities were huge, but that the only way to achieve them was building a very interesting institution that we called Corporación CPTED Region, to be the engine of the region to promote and spread CPTED.
All right. So you understood, you know, that job that you took, you know, it was just an advertisement in the newspaper in the beginning. It turned out to be a mission, okay? But I would make a comment regarding that. I mean, in order to do that, to go from the architecture with such a structured way of, you know, working, that requires a lot of social commitment. Yeah. That requires a lot of sensitivity. I mean, a lot of people knows about crime statistics, you know, and everybody knows that Latin America is one of the most violent regions in the world. But not everyone is willing to devote his or her life to work with that, to promote, you know, a non-violent society. So I praise on you that commitment that you have, because, you know, not everybody is willing to take such a task. And in order not only to promote it as a single individual, but to create and start promoting an organization that step by step has been growing, you know, all around the world, you know, or specifically here in Latin America, because CPTED, you know, it was born before and it was in different countries around the world. But in Latin America, there was nothing when you started, right? So tell me a little bit about CPTED in Chile. I know that in 2005, the methodology was you know, getting off the ground in Chile. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the beginning of the history was a very effort beginning. We had many resistance. It is very difficult to be pioneer in some areas, you know, because you were part of my team, you are part of my team, but you were from the beginning. And when you start trying to change things as they are, all people start pushing you problems. No, it's not possible, it's impossible, we can change, we can do that. It's the resistance for change. But then I realized that if we try to convince them with very practical examples that we can change to a better scenario, and that we can improve and help communities in our region, in our country, all around the world, the society can be a better scenario. In that sense, for me, it was very relevant to start working in a very practical sense. When we started the transferring of the Toronto City to the Santiago, Chile boroughs and communities, we started working hand by hand with the neighbors. And because of that, we started with the concept of the wisdom of the native expert of the environment. So we realized that they are the the native experts of the environment. And also they touch my heart. Really, I work, as you said, with much passion, but also I remember each of them. I remember Señora Rosa, I remember Mr. Jose, I remember Don Ricardo. They are leaders, community leaders, and they are persons in a very integral way. So then I understood that public policies, if we want to design public policies for crime prevention, for example, we need to consider that they are human beings with a history, with family, with values, with possibilities. So then I start understanding that in a very deeper sense, that we need to make a change in our life, in our society, but with them, not for them, without them, but with them, because really it's the way that we will be successful.
Exactly. So you took the value of the people, you took the value of the neighbor, you took the value of the children. There is one very interesting activity we started doing in Chile, which is the Cloud of Dreams, which is took children by, I guess, I think I'm not wrong, but it was the first time that children were taken so seriously to express what they feel and what they think about their environment, their cities, the neighborhood, the parks they want. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that initiative, the Cloud of Dreams?
The Cloud of Dreams, the first Cloud of Dream that we developed in 2006, and we uploaded it in front of the Moneda House in Chile. It was a big success. When we started realizing that the neighbors, the native experts of the environment had a wisdom that we need to achieve for the successful of our projects, for the success of our projects, then we start realizing that we need to think about the future and who will be living in the cities of the future, our children. So we start applying methodologies to understand if our children, in a very practical way also, they have also the same wisdom as the father, the mother, the grandmother. And we connect with that wisdom, with the methodology of the Cloud of the Dream. And then we realized that they were very skilled to perform changes in our environment. So we discovered that they must be part of an integral crime prevention project and strategy. And this is one fundamental basic stone of any project that we have developed since then, since 2006 in the Hispanic region.
Yeah, so children through drawings, because that's what the Cloud of Dream does, takes a little piece of paper, colors, crayon, pencils, and they draw, the dreams park or the school of their dreams or the city of their dreams, and that image, that message, that information that it comes from their wisdom is taken later, and given an interpretation a little bit more technical to start developing the project. So the ideas, and not only the ideas, because in a drawing, sometimes you get the feeling, you get the spirit of the people that is working there. So would you say that CPTED is a very humanistic approach to crime prevention?
I think that CPTED, when it started, first generation CPTED, it was very crime prevention oriented or situational crime prevention oriented. Then second generation CPTED turns much to the human being como concept. It's more social integration. And now third generation CPTED, it's becoming a very complete methodology connected with the roots of what Siri Jeffrey told us. And yes, I think the actual methodology is a very humanistic tool.
Okay, so it's been a development through the years. if I'm not wrong, it's from the 70s to the 2020. So it's been a long road, and it's becoming more and more closer to people and the human being itself.
Yeah, and also it's very evidence-based supported. This is something that I like much from the methodology, that the big CPTED family all around the world, CPTED practitioners are applying CPTED, and they are constructing evidence of what works and what doesn't. And because of that, ICA is so relevant, because it's a very global space where we can exchange those initiatives and that evidence.
Okay, so I remember that in 2005, if I'm not wrong, we went to Australia.
Yeah.
And that was a very important landmark in the development of CPTED in Latin America. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that trip that I would say started it all here in Latin America? It was the beginning.
Yes, a very good, highlight point, that trip to Australia, because for us in Chile and also in Latin America, CPTED practitioners that were starting applying the methodology, for us, Australia, Canada, and the States, and UK and Europe, for example, were like other planets with other type of policies, other type of professionals in security and safety strategies. So for us, the opportunity to jump to Australia and to be part of the International CPTED conference there was a huge opportunity of learning and to exchange also our experiences. Okay,
so it was a good opportunity to empower the practitioners in Chile, and from there start promoting to the rest of Latin America. I remember also that we created, a very interesting document, that it was the first manual, the CPTED manual. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that document, because it's still current?
Yeah, it's still current. Our first CPTED guideline, that is called Espacios Urbanos Seguros, that was developed in Chile by an interdisciplinary team, it was very, very relevant, because before developing that guideline, we had like 2 or 3 years of experimentation. So we did different pilot projects in different parts of the country, and then we got some results. And with those laboratories, we got the basis to develop that guideline. And then we spent like 1 year developing that guideline to systematize the experience. That is something very relevant. If we want to share the experience, if we want to transfer it to other Hispanic countries, for example, or other parts of the world, we need to systematize the experience. And because of that, we start developing that guideline.
Okay, so we could say that really CPTED in Latin America started with baby steps, step by step, little by little, to get a very long walk. Because after it was settled in Chile, you jumped to Mexico. You went to Mexico, start promoting work in Mexico.
Yeah, the Espacios Urbanos Seguros guideline finally was like a passport. It was something very funny, because using the internet, one functionary of the World Bank in Washington got that manual. I don't know how, but he received that manual, a copy of that manual in digital by mail. And then I was contacted by a team of crime prevention functionaries from the World Bank in Washington in 2003, 2004, I think, 2005, that year. And they asked me if I was available to transfer, using that guideline, the methodology to Brazil, for example, to Ecuador, to Mexico, and to Honduras. So we started the second phase of CPTED in the Hispanic region. That was the transferring phase of the methodology.
Okay, so little by little, methodology start going around, and how many countries is settled now in Latin America? Could you tell us?
I imagine more than 15 countries.
Okay. So we got members working in Colombia now, in Brazil, in Argentina, in Peru, studying in Ecuador, in Guatemala, in Brazil. So
in Mexico.
Mexico, it is a strong, very strong work, very professional work done in Mexico.
Honduras, where you are based.
Also in Honduras, we have been working for the last 6 years. So we could say that CPTED is already getting ground, getting roots here in Latin America, and also connected, you know, through your endeavors in a very strong way with all the CPTED practitioners around the world. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing at this time to connect and to interrelate all the chapters around the world? I understand there is initiatives called the Umbrella Initiative. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, with pleasure. I can describe the Umbrella Initiative, but before of that, I want to highlight something that is connected with the Umbrella Initiative, is that my first master in my life was my father, Fernando Rau. He was an incredible leader and an incredible teacher. He was trained in human resources and in leadership. And I was very lucky to have his model, his example. And I was a little child, a little girl. He discovered that I have some attitudes or some skills to being a leader. That was something very strange for a little girl in the Hispanic region, because there is not so often that we have women leaderships here. It wasn't so easy at the beginning. Today is more often, but when I started, wasn't very often. And I was very lucky to have the example of my father. And he taught me always that if we want to achieve a sustainable goal in life, we need to do it with a team. Without teamwork, it's nothing sustainable.
It's nothing, yep.
Yeah, because it's something very fragile that can be deleted. And also when you are the only one doing a task, it becomes something with the ego. And the idea is that we can change society and we can have a better world without egos. We want to have a better world for everyone. We need to have a very collective awareness, because the planet, the world is asking us now for a collective awareness. We need together, in a very collaborative way, work for a better world without crime. And for that purpose, ICA now is working in a very collaborative way. And this is what I love. And we call that as ICA, the Umbrella Initiative. And the Umbrella Initiative started 3 years ago. When I became ICA president, I was very happy with the position, because it was a huge opportunity to promote the mission in a more global scale. But I was very lucky also with a team of fine people working in ICA that I found. You are part of ICA, Carlos. You are a director of ICA, Mercedes, Matella. We have executive directors, Tinus, Barry, Greg. Well, we are the ICA global family. And with these high profile people, very high qualified, very moral people, we started analyzing that if we want to promote CPTED to increase the quality of life of all members of the world, we need to work in a very collaborative sense. In that sense, started the Umbrella Initiative that seeks to articulate different CPTED groups all around the world. Because if we work together, we can make a bigger change. We can decrease crime in a bigger magnitude, and we can increase quality of life.
Okay, so the initiative Umbrella is basically bringing together different initiatives from around the world, creating synergy, you know, getting them to work as a part of this big family team, which has members, you know, in Europe, in India, in Malaysia, in Australia, in New Zealand, in Latin America. So the Umbrella Initiative is putting together what before it was working, but kind of in a spreaded way. No, it was not a cohesive team. And at this time, through this initiative, I understand you and all the directors, you know, the board of the ICA are searching in order to empower and create this system that is, helping each other and empowering so we can have a better impact in the work we do. That's a very interesting, that's a very interesting initiative. And it's very nice that you took that from your father, the leadership, and you remember him, and you're honoring him somehow by doing this work, because it's something real. You learn from him, and now you're putting that into a real world with your effort, your passion, and your intelligence. So
thank you, Carlitos. Thank you. But we are doing all together.
Yeah, no, it's certainly it's a team effort. Certainly, it's a team effort. But as a leader, you are, putting that kind of energy around that is helping everybody and making them, understand that we alone, there's no way, out of the situation that we have currently in the world, if we work just by ourselves. We need teamwork. We need cooperation. We need a cooperative work.
Collaborative work, yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you about something like that. Let's turn back a little bit and let's get a little more technical again. I understand you've been doing a very interesting research. You got your PhD degree researching, about CPTED. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that research?
Yeah. Well, I was very lucky to be guided by Timothy Pascoe. He's the ICA director from UK. He was my co-tutor of the PhD program for 3 years. And also I got my PhD degree in the Universidad del Biobío, that is a university in the south of Chile, with 2 other tutors. That is tutor Gatica, Ivan Cartes, the third tutor. And the idea was to develop a methodology to measure the impact of CPTED strategies in the Hispanic region. This was something that was missing, because it was a very needed tool to develop that tool to know if a CPTED methodology was successful, reducing crime or not, reducing fear of crime or not, in a more scientific way. The idea was to have this tool to create scientific evidence. And after 3 years of a very hard work, we managed to get that tool. And then I also had my degree, my PhD degree.
Okay, so we can say with that, CPTED methodology is getting, a very scientific approach, which now we can, the very good instrument, we can measure impact in the implementation of projects in community, which is very good, because the evidence is great, but if we have also other ways of measuring the impact, it gives to the methodology even more power, and is more scientific, which we all need. We all need to work in those areas. So I gather that with that research, every practitioner in Latin America and around the world will have now access to that instrument. So the future projects can start, being assessed, and with that, can get publications and spread the word of the CPTED practice in a more scientific approach.
Yeah, that's the idea. And mainly we use and we train professionals and people to use that methodology or other methodologies in our online diploma. That is the Pioneer Diploma in Spanish. You are a teacher of the diploma also, so I'm very glad to have you as a team and teacher in the diploma. It's Olga González del Riego, a very nice lawyer that has more also than 15 years applying CPTED. And the idea of the online diploma, it's a very good way to spread the word of the methodology, but with a evidence-based approach.
Okay, I got other question for you. What do you think has been the most fulfillment, that has given you the more fulfillment experience through all these years working with CPTED? Can you remember something that really make you feel good about?
Yeah, well, I have many nice experience working with communities, but I was once working in a very difficult project in La Legua, that is a borough in Santiago, that is a town, that La Legua, it's a very complicated population because there is much narco traffic. So it was very difficult to get the confidence of the neighbors. And it was very difficult. I felt very isolated sometimes there because it was me and two neighbors, for example. When we wanted to do an assembly, a collaborative assembly with the neighbors, they didn't want to come to the assembly because they were afraid of the cartel and they didn't want to come. But for me, it was a challenging project because I reflect much. Do I stop the project or I continue? But I am not being successful with the project. What can I do? But I persist. I persist with much faith. And after 1 year of being very persistent, then we got a very, very, very successful project because people started to trust me, to trust the program. Then we start building trust, and then we start building faith of future. And at the final stage of the project, we developed together a plan, a master plan of CPTED intervention, and they receive money, a fund from the government to build a community center. And it was so relevant for me and my career because at the beginning, the scenario was a terrible scenario with much people drug addict, without treatment, without help. And after 1 year, with much faith and persistent community-based work, we received that money, and the community center was built, and also a health center for treatment of addictions. So it was an incredible change. And then they teach me, how to prevail, how to be persistent. If we have the vision of a better future for others, it's very relevant to persist and to try to achieve that goal.
Yeah, you're very right on that, Macarena, and thank you for that experience, for telling us that little story. There's something common in many communities where big problems are, is that there is learned hopelessness. People have learned to not have hope in the future. They don't think that things can get better, and they don't trust anyone. They just don't trust. They don't believe. So what you did is certainly, something that it has very close relation with touching people's heart. And we have talked many times that, but to be a CPTED practitioner is not only learning a technique from a manual, it's not learning target hardening, it's not learning, reading an article about community work. It's just working from the heart. And when you're telling us, that story, is because that, people start trusting when you really show yourself, when you don't lie to them and you tell them the truth. And you get, they can later receive you with open arms. And that's what you got such a success, in that project. Thank you for sharing the story. And I got one more question. What do you think is the big challenge for CPTED nowadays?
I think we have the huge opportunity as CPTED family to be hand by hand with the evolution of the society. With the COVID crisis, as a global society, we face and we confront many challenges and many problems. Of course, we are changing from one paradigm, that is an ecosystem paradigm, a more ego functioning system. Everything is for me. I don't want to work in a very collaborative sense. I can't use all resources of the planet. And now, of course, with the crisis and the climate crisis and other crises, we as humanity, we are facing the change, the big change from an ecosystem to an ecological system. So we are in that transit, and it's a very huge challenge, task, and responsibility for ICA to go with that challenge. So we can be, and we are, but we can be a much more leading institution that helps others to transit from one paradigm to another, to teach governments and communities, to advise them how to do that transit in a more harmonic way, in a more lovely way. and
exactly.
how we can, in that sense, decrease crime and violence. We need to reproduce the well-being sense. We need to reproduce harmonic environments, and we need to decrease violent environments. And this is our main missions. And I think as a global ICA, we are able to do that, and this is our responsibility.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer. And would you like to say something, a message to our audience? Because this interview is going to be, pretty much all around the world. So what would you like to say that people, that it has that feeling that, we are transiting, we are passing from one era, from the ego, to a more ecological way of living. But maybe they don't know what to do. What would you tell them? What would the message would be for them?
Well, the main message is that in an ecological system perspective, we all are very relevant. Nobody is there for granted. So we all are very relevant, and we all can produce a change. So we all have the opportunity, but also the responsibility to impact the environment and the communities in a very positive way. So I invite different leaders, different stakeholders, different neighbors, different persons all around the globe to connect with the ICA. www.cpted.net, and we will be happy to talk with you. We will be happy to work with you. If you want to be an engine of change in your community, in your environment, we have many guidelines. We can teach you how, and you can connect and download all the information that we have available in our website. So please commit with us and work with us.
Okay, great message, Macarena. Well, I thank you for this interview. I think it's been a great conversation. Hope we could have another conversation in the future. And thank you to all the viewers around the world, in Latin America, in Europe, in Australia, in New Zealand, in wherever you see this interview. Thank you so much. Thank you, Macarena, again, and we'll see you at the next CEP Talk edition, CEP Talk. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Carlos. A great interview, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye, Carlos.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi for everyone.